feedback I've gotten over the years from attendees is that while the material is powerful and it impacts their businesses, they just don't get enough. So they say to me, if only we could spend more time with you and the other presenters and really pick your brain, absorb the knowledge that you have to share, and get hands-on training. So to satisfy this need, I created Success GPS programs.
If you're here, it's because you want to succeed.
Being the fact that it's a hands-on workshop, we are getting a ton of value in terms of gaining more clarity for our business and approaching ways to wow the clients and customers that we do have.
Some of the Success GPS events are short, single-day experiences, a couple of hours, but our premier event is an extended, hands-on, experiential retreat. Business owners can come, spend 3 full days locked down and learning everything they need to know to be successful in business and in life.
Everybody up, I'll come out and get you. You over there too, up, up, up. See, if you already sit down, then you've already flunked, which means you've already given up.
Industry leaders that are here today that are so authentic and passionate about being of service to others. It sort of opens my heart and my mind to being really possible and staying on the right track.
I've spent 25 years listening to thousands of speakers, looking for the best of the best. Of all these, I handpicked this lineup of amazing speakers because I knew that they would bring it and that they would put it all on the line with their heart and soul to create an amazing experience for our attendees. In addition, all of the presenters are passionate about helping small businesses and entrepreneurs succeed and take the time on and off the stage for every attendee to get what they need to go to that next level. So I say show up, follow up, and lift up. Give back and don't ever, I don't care where you are in life, if you think you haven't arrived somewhere to where you can't give something back, you're wrong. It's the exact opposite. The minute you start stepping, bring someone with you.
Don't even hesitate, get here, do it. Be here, be the first one signed up, sit in the front row, get all the information, and it will be mind-blowing. It'll just be, it's a game changer to be here. It's just a game changer.
So don't miss the experience live and in person. Go to register at successgpsseminars.com for our upcoming event. And in the meantime, get ready to be inspired.
So if you want to know how to get people like me into your life, you work with Doug. Text me leads. If you want to know how to connect with those people on a regular basis, you work with this guy, Alec. He created Constant Contact. You want to know how to understand the people you get in your life? You talk to Kevin. You want to feel their heart? You talk to Susan. So right now, everybody stand up. Pull out your mirror, because we need 2 things. We need a flashlight and a mirror. Because all this was talking about the external. And right now, we're going to buckle up our seatbelts. We're going to turn our flashlights on because we're going inside. You start with the leader from the inside. So I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey from the farm to mission control, the transformation of a leader. Because I grew up on a farm, and if I stand on that side of the stage, it squeaks. And every journey begins with a beginning. So take your mirror and turn it around and look at yourself. This is all about you. I'm going to take you on the journey and think about yourself the entire time. What do I bring to the table? Who am I? Then ask yourself, who am I really? Okay, have a seat. 0.5. First semester at the college of my dreams to become a mechanical engineer. I got called into the dean's office, and he said, well, we don't normally call people into the dean's office, but you're special. Not short bus special, but in a different way. So he showed me my report card, and he gave me 2 choices. And he said, you could quit and save a lot of money, or you could change your major. And I thought, there's always 3 choices. If you have 2, you don't have a choice, you have a quandary. 3, you have a choice. And so I took my farmer work ethic, and I says, I'm going to pull my boots up, and I'm going to see what I'm really made of. And so when I did that, I began my journey of a leader, an internal leader. And when you're a leader, this is by Theodore Roosevelt, it's not the critic who counts. The critic will sit there and he will tell you everything that's wrong. And when are you a critic in your life? When do you look at yourself and cut yourself down and make fun of yourself, or invite people into your life, or keep people into your life who do that? The credit belongs to the man in the arena. The credit belongs to yourself. You all showed up today to work on yourself. So pay attention to that. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, I love you because you're amazing, because you showed up for yourself today. Not for your boss, not for your dog, not for your kids. And screw your spouse right now, because this is all about you. Because when you show up better at home or wherever you are, it's noticed. Every one of us has an 18-hour day. And the reason I talk about an 18-hour day is because we're usually awake and we're doing something. Maybe it's laying in bed and saying, well, man, it's so comfy in here, I don't want to get out of bed. Or I really have to pee and the toilet's way in the other room. So an 18-hour day, how we spend that, are we going to spend it externally? Talking about your mom and your dad and how their relationship could have been better and they could have raised me better? Or either your neighbor down the street and how her dog barks all night long? That's external. You're never going to solve your mom and dad's marital problems. You're never going to get that dog to shut up. How can you focus on yourself? How can you get up before that alarm clock goes off and this keeps squeaking? And the focus energy is going to be the energy that's going to draw you in. And if you have 16 hours in that day, 2 of it you wasted on solving somebody else's problems that will not help them, they will not help you, they will not help anybody, you wasted your life. So don't do that. Because when you decide to work on yourself and decide to own every one of those 18 hours for yourself, that moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence too moves heaven and earth to create the life that you deserve, the life that you want. So we're focusing externally. No, we're not. We're focusing internally. Not what I'm wearing. Yes, this was its shirt in the same video. But it's something else. So I'm going to have you stand up one more time. This is fun. This is interacting. As you can see, I don't sit still very often. So today when you leave, Jennifer had some really great announcements, which was awesome. We'll have another envelope for you on the way out. Each individual here will have a check made out to $1 million. And what I want, and what would be good for you, is to tell me the stupid, crazy ideas you would do with $1 million cash. And you have to spend it by the end of today. Just shout them out. New house. What else? Training center. What else? I mean fun stuff. Train around the world. Okay. Trip around. Huh? Fun stuff. That's boring. Come on, fun stuff. Who wants to get a boob job? Not me. 2 months in the safari. There you go, helicopter. What else? Outdoor classroom. Family in Hawaii. Find Jimmy Hoffa. So we have great ideas of what we could do with this cash externally and things like that. So turn that mirror around and the same question. You're going to walk, or same set, whatever. You're going to walk out of here, and in that envelope is going to be one life. What would you do with that one life? And 18 hours every single day, what would you do? A whole different energy. Nothing's changed but where you're focusing that energy, external or internal. So when we talk about doing external, we create a plan. It's called a business plan. We create a shopping list. Most of us, I'm guilty of it as well, we've spent more time, more resources, more energy, and more precision and collaboration on a vacation than we ever will on planning our life. That mirror is looking at you right now and you're saying, ooh, I'm guilty of that too. So I created a procedure. This is exactly what a mission control procedure looks like at NASA. And it's called a goal setting creation procedure. And this isn't about something external. It's not about a vacation or a thing or a car or a trip. This is about your life. And the objective is to dust off, visualize, and dream and think of things that you've often seen as unreachable. And we always have caution blocks. Caution, goals are nothing more than dreams you decide to take action upon to make real. And I asked a child one time, he was 14 years old, and I asked him, can you predict the future? And he said, no. I says, really, you can't? He says, no. I says, what are you going to do tonight? Are you going to sleep in your bed tonight? He goes, of course I am. What are you having for dinner? He says, macaroni and cheese. I says, you just predicted your future. It did not happen yet. So everybody in this room can predict and create their future, i.e., I can predict and create my life. I can use the external tools, but it all starts with the internal. And when I was at Texas A&M and I had a 0.5 grade point average, and I'm standing in the middle of the quad by the Zachary building, the engineering building, staring at this piece of paper in disbelief because I gave sweat and blood and tears to get there, and my own money. I put myself through college. I had a come to Jesus conversation that we say in Texas. And I said, there is nothing that's going to stop me from leaving this school and achieving my dreams. And that was a shift, and it wasn't an external shift. There was nobody that was going to help me. That was a decision that I made in my life to create my future. I had no idea what NASA was, but I went to Texas A&M, and I said, I'm going to do the Manny thing. I'm going to persevere no matter what. So this procedure, at the end I'll give you the code. I'll give you this entire 5-page procedure and my entire slide deck because I want to add value to your life because that's my purpose. And so on the next one, there's a, and you say, oh, sorry, sit. I'm sorry. I know you're all mesmerized. So life, dreams, and actions written down will cause you to harshly question and doubt yourself. And also, your friends and family and coworkers will vehemently attempt to talk you out of taking actions that you need to make them real. Don't listen to them. Do it anyways. And this procedure, I've shortened it. There's a lot of pages to it. Runs you through things. And you can create as many goals as you want. And I have a repetitive process to go through. So systemization is what NASA does well. Humor, not so well, but I got that. So leaders go first. And the reason I say leaders go first, Manny saw that man over there, that gunny sergeant, and he went over there without any recourse of thought for his own life. They eat last. And the big thing is they see or they seek out the unseen. You want to see what's coming that you don't even know is coming. They own, like an Olympic gold medalist, their own thoughts, actions, and emotions. They stand on top of that podium on the number 1 spot and say, yes, I fucked up. They own that too. They don't say that, Kevin, sorry, dude, I'm going to throw you under the bus on this one. No, they never do that. They might even defend Kevin, even when Kevin did it, because it's better for the outcome of the team. They also excel at being followers and allow the best of the team to come to the top. Then they become that supportive person that pushes that team to the level that people say, holy crap, how could you do that? That's amazing. That's what leaders do. And they also set clear expectations. Remind you, this is all internal. You're talking to yourself. You set clear expectations for yourself. Be truthful to yourself where you are right now and grow from that perspective. I had the opportunity to do this, and I still do this for Tony Robbins. Has anybody know who Tony Robbins is? Okay. Has anyone seen the movie I Am Not Your Guru? In that movie, this was during 2014. This was the filming of it at Date with Destiny, and this is the microphone running team where we would have all these people plus a few that couldn't be there. We would run through the audience, make sure the participant had the microphone. So it was not about us. It was about making sure Tony Robbins and that participant could have a conversation as soon as possible. So our team was there, and there was an instance where I've always been the leader of the mic runners, not anymore, but we had an opportunity to excel at seeing the unseen. And so in the movie, those of you that have seen it, there was a woman. She was having a challenge with her boyfriend. And so Tony's had her pull out her cell phone. As soon as I heard those, go ahead and pull out your cell phone, I knew what was going to happen. And I knew my team did not know what was going to happen. But I was there not for my team and not for me, for Tony Robbins and that lady in that moment. So I got on the radio as the leader and barked into the radio, green microphone, get back here now. They came back to the podium where we were stationed. I grabbed the microphone, grabbed the hat, says, you're in charge. because I knew they could handle it. They knew what to do. I had no problem letting them be in charge. And I ran out, sprinted out into the audience, and there was already a microphone runner there because she was speaking on the microphone. And so the microphone runner was in between the 30 chairs in the middle of the row where she was standing. So I crawled my way in there really, really fastly. And I said, we're going to get really comfy. And she was here, and I was here. I grabbed that microphone, and I went. So she could talk into her microphone and have it on speakerphone so we could hear the boyfriend. 35 minutes later, I stopped doing yoga, crawled out of the thing, went back, switched hats with the microphone runner, and they went on their way. So if you watch the movie, you'll see the microphone with a hand, and that's my hand. So I'm in the movie. But it wasn't about the team. It was about the end result, which was bigger than the team. It was making sure that the audience of 5,000 people understood the message that was happening between the intervention with the lady and her boyfriend and Tony Robbins. And as a result, this is the microphone team that had 0 instances of failure. And it's never happened in a Tony Robbins event before, and it hasn't happened since. So we had a perfect score because of the team and what every single person brought to the team as a leader inside. They showed up on time, they did what they needed to do, and I just guided them because they were all awesome. So when you show up in your lives, you're just awesome. You don't need someone to tell you are, you just already are. So we'll dial it back a little bit on the intensity of the looking inside. And I'm going to tell you a story about how this showed up in my life. I worked in NASA Mission Control because friends of mine I went to school with, Barron and Jennifer, we worked on a solar-powered race car, and we drove it across the US. 2 years later, they had gone on to do other things as I did, and we moved into our own lives. I connected back with them, and they said, hey, we're doing this really cool stuff. It's called growing and building an international space station. Do you want to come do it? And I went, uh-huh. And so I started working in the manned spaceflight operations in Mission Control Houston. This door is the one, these 3 doors are the ones that the Apollo astronauts went through, the Mercury and Gemini astronauts went through. So I didn't know that every single day in my office, when I plugged in the Mission Control console and talked to the flight director on my headset, that I was making history. So that was me right after I was certified. I decided, instead of throwing a beer party, I don't drink too much, let me bleach my hair Billy Idol white. And when you have a room full of very egocentric, highly intelligent flight controllers talking and doing a handover where you're telling the next shift what happened during your shift, it's really noisy. And when you walk in wearing hair like that and everybody shuts up, that's pretty cool. So I got to go and be leads for many missions. And I think I still have that shirt someplace. I don't know where. Maybe it's in my garage. But the biggest thing that I got to do is I got to go make history. And one of my things that I'd like to talk about is when you put a legacy in place and you create monetary legacies like Laurel was talking about, or you create tangible legacies with your children like Jennifer does with her 2 beautiful children. A legacy is something that you create that perpetuates itself with you without you being there. And so I learned how to be such an internal leader that I could see the unseen. I don't know how to use this thing, but the little module on the top that's really shiny, that's a Japanese module, Kibo. And it was launched before, that's this module here. It was launched before the big module from Earth that was mounted, so they had to stick it someplace. They didn't know how to do it. So have you walked into a shower that someone had just got out of, it was really hot and steamy, but you didn't know it, and you walked in, it's like, oh, geez. So inside of a module, they're closed up like a room. We have a flight rule, which is a law. If there's no smoke detection or active interaction with the atmosphere, then you can't go in there. We didn't have active interaction with the atmosphere planned when I took over the lead position. So what we had to do is I looked at that and I said, we can't do that. That's not safe. So I'm sitting at a table in Japan with a bunch of Japanese men that I was teaching how to be flight controllers for the manned space flight, and we were talking about this very topic. And I looked at what was his name? Kaido-san. And I says, do you test that module in the Kennedy Space Center with a computer? He says, yes, we do. I says, and you have a cable connecting it, you just kind of do your thing? He says, yes. why don't we just launch that in the space shuttle and we can tell what the atmosphere is inside the module? Joe-san, that's so awesome! And so we did. And so I created the procedures, my team and I created the procedures because I saw what was unseen. And I said, why not try that? To launch this module, and is this working? How's this thing work? I don't know. Laser pointer I'm trying to use. So the module on top is on an American module. We temporarily mounted it there until the module on the right, the big shiny thing with the snorkel looking thing sticking out, that's the module it was launched to. So that module was launched from Earth. We connected it to the International Space Station, and then we moved this module from that hatch opening to the one on top of there. And that's what it looks like today. The science platform out in front is what they reach through those round openings that look like two eyes for a teddy bear and a mouth. This is inside the module. So that round module is mounted above this astronaut's head. It's a storage closet for the experiments. So I wrote the procedures of how this should take place, data point by data point, just like the personal growth procedure of your goal setting. And I quit in 2008. I walked away from NASA because I was burned out. I didn't know how to take care of me. I was always trying to please the external. I wasn't taking care of who I was inside. So that's why I talk about the beginning of the internal journey. And this mission was run letter by letter by letter the way I wrote it. So I was able to create a legacy of a mission procedure. And that was just beginning. And I didn't know this, but once I started learning how to run myself and be the leader in my life, and when I show up on the edge of the stage or in the middle of a 5-year-old's birthday party, I'm me. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a farmer. I'm not some guy from New York who lives in Houston. I'm me. And so when someone shakes my hand at a party and says, what do you do? I look him right in the eye and I says, I do me really well. And some people think that's creepy, but it's true. I do me first. All the rest of that is just bling. It's your wristwatch. It's a hat on your head. It's the car you drive. It's just bling. I'm trained as an engineer. I'm trained as a Tony Robbins person. I'm a natural speaker, but that's who I am. And so bringing that to yourself is the biggest gift you can give to yourself. And so as a result, I got to build this monster, which flies across the Earth at 17,500 miles an hour today, right now. And the little module on the bottom, on the left, I was instrumental in making sure that was connected properly so it operates, so the astronauts' lives are safe. And so being in mission control, our call sign, ECLSS, or Environmental Controls and Life Support Systems, was retired because we completed the assembly of the International Space Station. And so the plaque in the upper left-hand corner was what we used to have. And you never know, and you never know what's going to happen, so you look for the unseen. And a buddy of mine, fellow flight controllers, John Garr and myself, we sat next to each other, and he says, wasn't that Armageddon movie really cool, and those nameplates that they have on the consoles? We need to make one of those. So we put our brain cells together and rubbed like this a little bit, and it's like, ooh, we can do that. And so we created that plaque, and I created the first prototype that I'm standing in front of and put it in mission control. And you've met people who are very unflappable and they're not impressed in any way, shape, or form. We had a flight director like that, and he was in charge of creating the new Mission Control Center, which is the one that you saw. I plugged that in and the lights turned on, and John and I looked at it and said, wow, that looks really cool. Let me stand back and see if I can see it from the back of the room. And he did. The flight director walked in. He goes, what are you two doing? And then he just looks at the plaque and was speechless. And he went, cool. And so as a result, we have those in all of our console positions. So that's one of my legacies. And another legacy is my name is forever enshrined in mission control. And I'm a little farmer from Marcy, New York, raising beef cows and pigs. And I got to the flight control level to do some really cool stuff. And even though I did all that cool stuff, I still didn't know who I was. Because even though you're looking internally, sometimes you get a little self-absorbed and you still can't see because the mirror gets fogged up with all the bullshit in your head. So your peer group, the people that surround you, are the ones that helps you see yourself. A Chinese proverb, the eyeball cannot see itself until there's something that reflects its image back to it. That reflection are your peers. If you surround yourself with the peers that are broke, drunk, sleeping in bushes on the way home from the party, you will become one of them. You surround yourself with peers that are in this room that will not settle, that want to be better and have more in their life, and go grab Alex by the shirt collar and say, how'd you do that? I want to be a billionaire when I sell my company. Find people like that and surround yourself, and you will become those people. And so I'm driving across San Antonio. And as I said, I worked with Tony Robbins, and I still volunteer for him. And a friend of mine, Steve Becker, calls me, and we're talking about space, and he's like one of those nerds. Dude, I love that you're a space guy. And I was like, it's just a cool job. And he says, what? I said, it's just a cool job. I'm just a regular Joe with a really cool job. Have you ever had a friend chew your ass out over the phone? This was that moment. So Steve comes over to me on the phone, and he says, let me remind you, I don't do what you do, and I see you in a different way than you see yourself. So you're one of those guys in mission control, but you're not just one of those guys. If a fire or a hole gets put in the side of the space station, then when that happens, you end up being somebody that, what'd you say, you wrote the emergency procedures? I said, yeah, it's called the Red Book. And what is that for? I said, well, that's to make sure the astronauts save their own lives. And you were part of the persons that wrote that, and you were the person that trained them, and you execute those when stuff like that happens? I said, yeah. So how many people can do your job? I said, at the time there was 12. So 12 people know how to do those procedures and know how to make sure the astronauts are doing the right thing. I said, yeah. So at NASA, I said, right. He says, so it's safe to say in the whole world, 12 people can do your job. Or 11 people, I'm 12. And he said, yeah. Okay, so you're just a regular Joe with a really cool job, and if you're sitting in mission control at 3 o'clock in the morning and an asteroid pokes a hole in the side of the space station, what happens? You're the one guy in the whole freaking world who can save their lives. One person out of how many billions of people that was entrusted and trained to do that job, and you do it very well. So don't you ever tell me you're a regular Joe with just a really cool job. Do you understand me? And I'm bawling. The steering wheel's all wet. I can't find enough napkins stuck in the crack of the seats to dry my eyes off. Because at the first time in my life, I understood this is who the frick I really am, because I finally saw myself inside. And each one of you has that gift to give to yourself. And you have peers you need to surround yourself that are going to be that blunt and that honest with you, that you will be vulnerable enough to see yourself and let them see you, so that you can become freaking awesome. So, everybody stand up. Please. Okay. Put your hands over your head. And reach as high as you can. As high as you can. Like you got to touch the lights and burn your fingertips. Okay. Everybody up there as high as they can? As high as they can? Okay. Go a little bit higher. Holy shit. Everybody in this room went up a good couple inches. When you think you can't, you always can. You can always go higher. You can always dig deeper. Personal transformation and making yourself the best you that you can be, so when you walk into the room to sit next to someone you don't know, you're not going to be thinking about your shit and saying, oh, I'm not adequate. You're going to reach over and say, I'm Joe. Who are you? Alec. Nice to meet you. And there's no, if I touch their hand, what if they didn't use Perel? Ooh. You're going to be the person you need to be. And that's so special, because every single person in this room has a gift, and it is your job to go find it. It's because you get to. You don't have to. You get to. I get to go travel around the world. I don't have to. I get to. And so by being more and stretching yourself well beyond your limits, looking from the inside first, and making the critical decisions to do a goal-setting workshop for your frickin' life, everybody in this room, I want you to promise me, put your hands in the air. I'll yell at you one more time. Promise me, you will never, ever, 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 ever plan your vacation with more detail, more diligence, and more energy and resources than you ever plan your life. Ever. Promise? Promise. Okay. So, one more. Do you want bonus material? Yes. Okay. There we go. So this is Cape Canaveral Air Force Base. The yellow line, I couldn't find one with the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, but all of those launch pads on the lower right-hand corner where they had launched the Apollo Mercury and started the space program. They started the space station with the space shuttle. I was in mission control when the space shuttle blew up, the Challenger blew up. I was emotionally numb for a week. Literally numb. I didn't feel happy, sad, cold, hot, nothing, hungry, nothing. So they implemented a new procedure. It was a roll, and they literally rolled the space shuttle around when it was next to the space station so they could look at every one of those tiles. And a little fact, every single space shuttle that has ever been launched had tile damage. So when that one was damaged, they didn't think it was a big deal because 102 had been launched before that. So look in your life when you say, it doesn't matter. Like Laurel's saying, it does matter. Look at your finances, look at your life and say, where am I kind of going, it's happened before, no big deal. People died because of that. I did it with a team. This is when we connected the airlock to the space station. I was the guy in the back, I was new, but I got thrown out of the airlock when it is the Kennedy Space Center. You've been thrown out of a bar before? I've got thrown out of a space module. And so the International Space Station is part of my legacy. I never thought when I was a farmer, raising cows, feeding the kitties in the morning, that I would ever be a person who made history every day they went to work. And now my purpose is to add value to other people's lives. I found my true calling, and it's that. It's not building things like that. I still can, but I don't want to. Because when we see beautiful things from Earth, it looks way cooler from space. And then we can see things we could never see from Earth. And that's the Russian Soyuz rocket, and that's where the astronauts climb into when there's an emergency to come home. Because we created a partnership with Russia, because we're confident as Americans, and they're very capable and competent as Russians. So we came together to create the space station with 27 other partners in the world. So when you can see London from space, and this is a real-time picture, and this is what a solar eclipse looks like. The one that's coming up, that's what it looks like. Just a black dot moving across the face of the Earth. And so you feel privileged. And so whenever you begin to be the critic in your own life, look up Teddy Roosevelt's quote, read it and own it. Don't be the critic in your life. Be the man in the arena or the woman in the arena. Be the person who will never be with the cold and timid souls, because that never know victory nor defeat, because you will struggle, you will have pain, and you will overcome that because you're not afraid to look inside, because you have a mirror and a flashlight to see what needs to be seen and look for the unseen, and the curiosity to say, ooh, cool. I didn't know I had belly button hair. Because Michael Jordan did it. He knew that he brought himself to the court. He was 100% in the court, not for anybody else, for himself, to be his best self. And he just used the other people to test him so he could excel well beyond what his limits were of physicality, because he got thrown off his high school basketball team because he wasn't good. And then Jack Kerouac, be with the crazy ones. Be who you are. It could be the IBM Thai kind of person, or it could be the guy or the yoga person or whoever. I live in my house and I rent it out for Airbnb. Tomorrow I have someone come in and stay in my house while I'm here. And your time is limited. Everybody's going to die. You can either spend your 18 hours a day talking about somebody else's dog or cat, or what are they wearing? Ooh, I'd never wear that sweater with those work boots. Or you can talk about stuff that really matters in your life. Do I want to be healthy? Don't ask that question. Just be freaking healthy. And Marianne Williamson, our deepest fears were we're afraid of our greatness. We are so freaking scared of how good we are that we do not bring our life out and let other people see who we are, so they're not afraid to let their gold and their light shine. So I'm going to give you a bunch of stuff, 20 things in addition to things that I've accumulated that just I read and resonate with me. 20 things successful people do every day, 5 things successful people do before 8 a.m., like exercise. And also, internal leaders do 20 things that they delete from their life, that they don't do. We always talk about adding things. We never talk about getting rid of the bad people, the bad habits, getting rid of the broken bicycle and get a new one. So we want to ride a bicycle instead of broken, I don't want to fix it. You know. And that's 2 pages long, by the way. 10 steps executive level people do. I've been a C-level executive in the oil industry, so I know what's up there. And if you want to connect with me, here's the secret. 21777, and in the subject, or the whatever text thing, 321LYL. Stick in your phone right now, or I'm not getting off the stage. That's all I got.